Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we go again. It just never fails. It's the same story, the same tried and true trope that they love to do. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an article here from Phantom Pulse with a headline that reads DC Comics writer Mark Waid, who we've done videos on in the past, not too many, but we have done some, says he'd rather work at Burger King than work with right-wing creators in comics, and tells all the fans to shut the F up. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, these are the people that are in charge of your mainstream comic book entertainment currently in the West.
The point is, our group will be forward thinking, gender neutral.
And we talk about this quite often. We really do. We talk about this when it comes to manga and comics as a whole. We say all the time that manga is absolutely destroying American comic books. That's been a statistical fact for I don't even know how long now, decades at this point. American comics, even in their prime, couldn't hang with manga. And now that they're deciding to attack people because they're angry over how irrelevant they really are, it really starts to show you what these people are like. And now that we're especially in election year, they're going to take every opportunity to try to tie things to politics because that's what they really want to talk about. All of these entertainment people, if you notice, their Twitter feeds are all about politics. It's not really about the entertainment scene that they're in. It's about the political ideology that they follow. So let's get into this article, guys, from Phantom Pulse. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into the YouTube algorithm. Look at this fucking loser. It says Mark Waid is well known for his tantrums, which he is because, like I said, we did videos on him prior, causing public relations problems in the comic book industry, dating back to the cross-gen when he allegedly put his fist through a wall in an argument with the creator. That energy has been echoed since recent comics by comic book retailer Glenn O'Leary echoed what many people have been saying regarding self-insert replacement characters destroying Marvel and DC Comics. Now, in a recent interview with Word Balloon, Mark Waid has doubled down on his incendiary rhetoric while trying to gaslight fans. Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, these are the people in charge of what what you're trying to consume, right? You're a fan of American comic books. I'm not. But if you are, then hear my words. These people don't give a shit about you. They don't care about whether or not they're actually entertaining you or not. All they're trying to do with these American comic books, most of them, is just insert their own ideology into it as much as they possibly can. And no, we're not talking about comic books that have a political leaning story. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about people who are trying to write fantasy books, people who are trying to write superhero characters and putting real-world ideologically based politics into the stories without any tie whatsoever. It'll just come out of nowhere. Like, out of nowhere, you'll be reading the comic book, and next thing you know, they're telling you how amazing trannies are. Like, this is basically what American comic books has become, and this is why the indie scene is trying to take over and why it's so important to support indie comic book creators and tell them if their work is good or not. Don't just support them and don't tell them if the work is good. You need to tell them if the work is good or not. That way they can get better, and eventually the indie will become the new mainstream. It's only a matter of time. I mean, look at YouTube content creators. We have essentially taken over for what was known as, media websites back then. Like, all these journalists or journalists, whatever you want to call them, they're completely irrelevant because YouTubers have completely taken over. It says in a tirade last year on Facebook about Mark Miller, a Scottish socialist, Mark Waid said he'd burn the industry down rather than share any space with those he politically disagrees with. He strawmans people like Mark Miller, Ethan Van Sciver, and others who critique the bad stories being produced by Marvel and DC Comics as alt-right to do so, a term not used by normal people since the media made alt-right meaningless in 2017. And that's absolutely a fact because, ladies and gentlemen, let's be real. Anytime someone says that you are an alt-right and they don't want to listen to you because they think you're an alt-right, that is a tall tale sign of where they stand politically and also ideologically. You don't want to talk to these people because they are, for all intents and purposes, unsavable. Like, they don't want to have a conversation with you. They don't want to meet in the middle with you. They don't even want to entertain your thoughts, your ideas, anything. They don't. And they swear that you're the one that's in echo chambers. But let's be real. I've seen a lot of people on our side of the aisle that get called alt-right that are not right-wing at all. And they also are people who have conversations with people they don't disagree with all the time. And yet these people who literally will do anything they can to ensure that they hire hire only people that agree with them, they're the ones who say you're in an echo chamber. It's hilarious. It says Word Balloon felt the need to address this matter first before getting into the interview, as the incident caused a lot of embarrassment for the comic book industry as a whole, with Mark Waid as one of their elder statesmen. It says, you stirred things up a bit with some comments you made last month. The host began. Before Mark Waid interrupted him, he asked to clarify what Mark Waid said. Mark Waid then said the conversation was about, yes, the superhero comic book market is soft right now. Is it in desperate trouble? I don't know. Is it in some trouble? Yes. Is there going to be a fix? Maybe. I mean, as Tom Brevoort's been fond of saying, comic books have been dying since 1935. He continued, all I do know is that there is no single bullet theory. That's the thing. There is no, well, if we stop telling stories about homosexuals and women, or if you went to 99-cent newsprint, which doesn't exist or whatever, there's no single solution. Naturally, he couldn't just leave it at that, but like the woke mob often does, he attacks right-wing boogeymen in Comicsgate, saying a lot of the championing from a real, like, super right-leaning, Comicsgate sort of crowd was insanity. It was this whole, well, why don't you work with us? We're all fighting. And again, ladies and gentlemen, people like this, they do in fact want to have a boogeyman. They need to have a boogeyman. They say that we love to make things into boogeymen, but let's be real. These people have been making things into boogeymen for almost a decade now. Ever since Trump especially got into office, they lost their mind. Everything became politics to them. Everything became a political ideology to them. There was nothing that they can do or create that wasn't politically based, and it started to get annoying to a lot of people. People started to realize and pick up on it, and they think that their readers are stupid, just like game developers think that gamers are stupid. You guys don't realize, and I say this all the time, people are not stupid. People can pick up on disingenuous nonsense very easily. People can pick up on whether or not you actually believe what you're putting out there. And we know that most of you don't. You're just putting it out there because it's the safe thing to do at the time. It's the safe ideology to have at the time. You're not stunning and brave going with the status quo, even though you think you are. You're not. You are 100% the status quo right now in mainstream media. So, of course, it's very easy for you to come out and say the things you say. It says it's a very real question. Marvel and DC Comics have signaled the right-leaning creators are not allowed at all. It's been alleged many times there is a blacklist of people who are outspoken in favor of Christian beliefs or conservative politics. But like many do on the left, Mark Waid pretends there's a straw man and makes a disingenuous argument. He said, my exact quote was that there are a lot of us who would rather see the industry burn than to ally ourselves with the alt-right, which you would think would be one of the best, least controversial statements that could come out of my mouth. The only people who would be upset about it tell on themselves by being upset about it. Well, it makes you wonder all the things that make you upset. You're basically telling on yourself about so many things. It says this is a tactic that the left does all the time. Mark Waid has done it by himself by placing pro-Nazi villains into his Captain America comic who were obvious stand-ins for Trump supporters. It's called Trump supporters Nazis that anyone with a brain could infer from the work, but when called out on it, the left gaslights comic book fans with tactics like, if you see yourself as a Nazi, maybe you're the problem. This is exactly what Mark Waid is doing here when he brands anyone who disagrees with his extremist politics alt-right or Comicsgate. And then he furthered his feigning responsibility with, I wasn't calling anyone in specific alt-right. I wasn't calling anyone in the thread alt-right. It was simply, if you're thinking that the answer is to ally with some of the most outrageously misogynistic, homophobic, racist voices out there, I got news for you. I'd rather go work at Burger King. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mark Waid has made his comments very clear. He wants to completely suppress any other ideology other than his own. He only wants to be surrounded by people who think exactly like him, and he'd rather go work in a fast food chain than, maybe listen to another opinion. This is a major problem going on in the entertainment industry right now. This is why this is so much bigger than Sweet Baby Inc. This is so much bigger than all these consulting firms. They all together are the problem. They are all one big, massive problem. And yes, they are different, obviously companies and whatnot and people out there that have their own personal issues, and you can single them out, of course. But ultimately, they are all part of the bigger problem, and that is the entertainment industry is massively rotten to the core. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. And if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.